Hi dear students, today we will discuss paper 1 of the topic, that is coordination response, and this is the first part of the coordination response, that is brain. Before going to start this complete paper 1, you should know about the structure and different functions of the parts of the brain. So this is your first MCQs, that is, what is an example of reflex arc? You people know reflex arc is an involuntary action which is not under the control of brain, and the pathway which is involved in the reflex arc, that is, which starts from, let me write here, it starts from receptor. Any type of receptor may involved here, receptor, then sensory neuron, relay neuron or connector, and motor neuron, and then at the end effector, that may be a muscle or hormone factor. So here you have to find out this pathway, where it is, and this pathway is in option D. Option D is correct. Retina, it is a receptor and perceives light, and then sensory neuron, it takes message from retina, and then there is the relay neuron which process that information which is received from sensory neurons. After processing, it sends its message to the motor neuron for the effector, and effector is a muscle, that is iris muscle. So this is your first question. The second question is, the diagram shows a vertical section to the brain, human brain, which structure controls balance and muscular coordination. So here again you have to first categorize that what are the different parts which are present here. For example, your A, option A is the part of the brain that is A here, it is medulla oblongata. Similarly, option B here, that is, it is a part of the brain that is called hypothalamus. Then you have option C. Option C is cerebrum, and option D is cerebellum. So these are four parts which are involved here. So now you have, definitely it's a question that if you will remember the functions of all these structures. So the structure which is involved in balance and muscular coordination, that is cerebellum. Cerebellum is a region of the brain that controls the coordination and balance. It controls the coordination and balance. So here option D is correct. Option D is correct. So now let's move on the next one, that is, the motor neuron transmits impulses from. So the concept of the motor neuron, it should be clear to you people. Motor neuron is the neuron that carries message from brain or the central nervous system, spinal cord, to the muscle. So here in this case option D is correct, because option D, spinal cord to muscle, because spinal cord is the part of central nervous system, so it receives that message in the sense it is in response of that stimulus which is perceived by the receptor, then to the sensory neurons and the relay neuron, and then after processing, whatever the response required by that stimulus, is carried out by the motor neuron, and motor neuron will respond that stimulus through muscles or hormones. So here examiner has given you muscle, so option D is correct. What are characteristics of all neurons? Characteristics of all neurons, remember, carry information within the brain, stimulate muscles or glands, transmit electrical impulses. All the brain neurons means you should know about the sensory neurons, relay neurons and motor neurons. So option A, carry information within the brain. Not all neurons carry information within the brain. Motor neurons may carry that information from brain to the muscles. So stimulate muscles or glands. Not all neurons are involved to stimulate the muscles and glands, because it's only the specific neuron, that is motor neuron, which is involved to stimulate the muscles and glands. So transmit electrical impulses. Transmit electrical impulses. Yes, all neurons transmit electrical impulses. So here in this case option D should be correct, because carry information within the brain, it's not for all. Stimulate muscles and glands, not for all. So transmit electrical impulses, it is for all neurons. All neurons transmit electrical impulses. So option D is correct. Which row correctly describes the connections of the neuron in a reflex section? Which row correctly describes the connection of the neurons in a reflex section? Again, you have to find out which row which is present in the table that is correct and describes the sequence of the neurons in the reflex section. So here in this case, motor neuron, relay neuron, sensory neuron. Option B, motor neuron, sensory neuron, relay neuron. Option C, sensory neuron, motor neuron, relay neuron. Sensory neuron, relay neuron, motor neuron. So in this case, receptor to central nervous system, that is definitely it is the function of sensory neuron. Between neurons, definitely that is a relay neuron, and central nervous system to effector, that is the motor neuron. So in this case option D is correct, because it is very much important for you to memorize the pathway of the reflex section or reflex arc. So that is the sensory neuron, relay neuron and motor neuron. So then now come towards what does the hypothalamus control? What is the function of hypothalamus? So the function of hypothalamus is control the body temperature. Remember, body temperature is controlled by hypothalamus. So heart rate is not under the control of hypothalamus. Similarly, insulin secretion, no, it's not its function, it's a hormonal control, and that's a different thing. Rate of breathing, it is not the function of hypothalamus. Rate of breathing, it is a function of oblongata. So here in this case option A is correct. What is a function of sensory neurons? So as you people know about this, what is the function of sensory neuron? Sensory neuron actually receive the message from receptor and transmit it to the central nervous system. For example, here option C is correct, because transmitting impulses from receptors to spinal cord. So option C is correct. Transmitting impulses from muscles to spinal cord, no, it is wrong. B is wrong, so C is correct, right? So now option we will discuss the MCQs. 8, the diagram shows a section through the brain. It's a brain, 1, 2, 3. What are some functions of the parts labeled 1, 2 and 3? So there are three parts which are mentioned here. Part 1 is cerebrum, and part 2 is cerebellum, and part 3 is medulla oblongata. So you have to find out the functions of all these three structures. So cerebrum, it is involved in the site of intelligence, learning, memory, reasoning. All these functions are carried out by cerebrum. So cerebellum, it is, whenever it comes to you people, so you should know about it, is always involved in coordination and balance. So 3, medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is always involved in the controls reflex actions, heartbeat, breathing, swelling and coughing. All these functions are controlled by medulla oblongata. So now we will discuss the options here. Center for learning, yes, it is a function of cerebrum, part 1, but forms visual images. No, 2, it is involved in coordination and control, balancing, so it is wrong. So option B, control blood pressure, center for touch sensation, control breathing rate, is not. C, D, yes, D is involved, because you can also find out in a way that option like in this case your this 2-1 is actually it is involved in coordination and balance. So from here you can find out the correct option from the table. So D is correct here. Forms memory, store, controls balance and determine intelligence. Now MCQs 9. Which part of the brain controls the body temperature? Again it is repeated in this case. We have already done one MCQs before that. Which part of the brain controls body temperature? So hypothalamus is the part of the brain that controls the body temperature. What is the role of the motor neurons in reflex action? As we know, the reflex action, it is involved to take message from the central nervous system to the effector. So in this case you can find out the correct option, carrying nerve impulse from the central nervous system to an effector. So it is the correct answer A. Connecting a receptor to the central nervous system, no. Forming the synapse from the, no. Transferring energy from the stimulus to the brain impulse, nerve impulse, so no, it is not. So option A is correct. It is the function of motor neurons to carry the information from the central nervous system after processing to the effector. In the effectors may be hormones or muscles. Similarly, you have another MCQs, that is the diagram represents the section through the human brain. There are 4 sections, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So first you have to name all these parts. 1, it is cerebrum. 2, it is hypothalamus. 3, it is medulla oblongata. 4, it is cerebellum. So these are 4 parts. Now what are the numbered parts? Okay, as we have already named all these parts, so in this case cerebrum, which one is cerebrum? Cerebrum, it is 1. Okay, cerebellum 4, it means 1, 4. Then medulla 3, 1, 4, 3. Hypothalamus, that is 2. So option B is correct here. Option B is correct. So all these MCQs are based on the parts of the brain. You know, if you have clear idea about the different parts of the brain and their functions, so different parts means you need to remember 4 parts, like cerebrum, cerebellum, hypothalamus, medulla oblongata. So if you know about the these 4 parts, where they are located and what is their function, so you can easily attempt the questions which are being asked from the brain part. So now another question, a local anesthetic is a drug used to block nerve impulses. The diagram represents part of the nervous system. X, Y and Z show sites where the anesthetic can be injected. Anesthesia, actually, anesthesia is a drug which is used to inject in the people, in the patient, to make them unconscious for any purpose, that may be to operate any surgery or to carry out any other medical treatment. So for that purpose you need to make unconscious that part of the body of a person, so that the he or she cannot be much suffered from the treatment like operation or any sort of injection. So that's why anesthesia is used for this purpose. So the local anesthetic is a drug used to block the nerve impulses. The diagram represents the part of the nervous system X, Y, Z, show sites where the anesthetic can be injected. So here you have a brain, sensory neuron, spinal cord. You people should focus on X, Y and Z. X, he has labeled here sensory neuron, and Y is a motor neuron nerve. So in an experiment, one person can feel a pain prick their legs but cannot move their leg. So where was the anesthetic injected in this person? At X, at Y, at Z, at X and at Y. So what do you think? Where it is? Person can feel a pain. It means sensory is not blocked, right? But he cannot move leg. It means motor neuron is not functioning. So if motor neuron is not functioning, it means that anesthesia is given to the site that is motor nerve, that is Y, at Y. So option B is correct here. Option B is correct. Which structure in the brain registers changes in the blood concentration? Okay, which structure in the brain registers changes in the blood concentration? Cerebellum, hypothalamus, medulla, or the pituitary gland? So which one is the structure which is involved to registers the changes in the blood concentration? So we have to find out the part of the brain which is involved to change in the concentration of the brain. Okay, so yes, which one? Hypothalamus. It is very much important to understand that it is involved in body temperature, to detect the sugar level. Definitely when sugar level will go up and down, so it will be detected by the registered by the hypothalamus. Water level, it is also the function of the hypothalamus, rate of eating and drinking. So all these are detected by hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is the part of the brain which registers changes in the blood concentration. A child is frightened by a loud noise and shouts for help. In which order are the different types of neuron involved in this response? So, involved first. Which one will be involved first? So, definitely that's a sensory neuron. Right? So, which one is the second neuron? Definitely relay neuron, that is actually working as a connector between sensory and motor neuron. So, relay neuron is involved. So, then motor neuron. So, here option D is correct, dear students. So, option D is the correct answer of the pathway which is normally carried out in the nervous coordination. Alright. So, MCQs 15. The diagram shows the section of the brain. So, I want to moving a little bit fast so that you can conclude it as early as possible, so we can do all the questions. So, the diagram shows a section of the brain. Again, before going to attempt all these questions or the paper one, you people have a clear idea about the brain structures and functions. So, you should have a clear label diagram of the brain so that you can easily distinguish or differentiate all these structures. So, what could be the result of the damage to the part labeled X? Okay. Option A, difficulty in breathing, inability to control body temperature, may cause rickets, raised insulin levels. So, what do you think? What could be the result of the damage to the part labeled X? What is labeled X? X is what? It is hypothalamus. So, where hypothalamus is involved? So, we know it is involved to control the body temperature. Anybody whose hypothalamus is damaged, so he or she will not be able to control body temperature. So, option B is correct, dear students. Now, 16. 3 directions in which nerve impulses and neurons can travel in the nervous system are listed. Away from the central nervous system, 2. Towards the central nervous system, 3. Within the central nervous system. In which direction do impulses in sensory and relay neurons travel? Relay neurons, that is also called intermediate neuron. So, sensory neuron, yes, 2, towards the central nervous system, right? Relay neuron, within the central nervous system, 3. So, here option 2, 3, it means option D is correct, your last option, because we know sensory neuron, its function is to carry message from receptors to the central nervous system, towards the brain, towards the central nervous system, right? And relay neurons are intermediate neurons which are present in the central nervous system, right? Their function is to connect the neurons and to process the information which is coming from the sensory neurons. So, option D is correct, dear students. Now, the diagram shows the section to the brain, okay, X, Y, Z, so W. So, first you should name all these structures. What is that? It is cerebellum. It is cerebellum. What is Y? It is hypothalamus. What is X? It is medulla oblongata. And what is W? That is cerebellum. So, cerebrum, hypothalamus, medulla oblongata and cerebellum. So, these are the 4 parts. Which regions control balance, breathing and memory? So, you have to find out. Control balance. There is no second thought here. Control balance of the body is controlled by W. That is cerebellum. Okay, so the second is breathing. Which is involved in breathing? So, medulla oblongata is involved in breathing, so that is X. Your second breathing is X. So, memory memory is always controlled by your first part of the hemisphere, that is cerebrum. So Z, it means option A should be correct because that is WXZ, right? So option A is correct answer. Another question, that is the diagram represents a section to the brain and the part of the spinal cord. Which part of the brain controls balance? Which part of the brain control balance? Right. A, B, C, D. Yes. Which one? Balance. Balance is always controlled by cerebellum. Remember, cerebellum is the part of the brain which is involved in controlling the balance of the body. So option D is correct. Option D is correct. So these four parts, you must know their location and the function, so it would be easy for you to attempt the first part of the coordination response, that is brain. So what are the functions of the relay, motor, sensory neurons in a reflex response? Okay, what is the function of relay? To connect neurons within the central nervous system. It is the function of relay neuron. Yes. What is the function of motor neuron? To conduct impulses to the effector from the central nervous system. Yes, it is also correct. Sensory neuron to conduct impulses from the receptor to the central nervous system. So option A is correct. You don't need to go on the B, C and D because option A is correct. You can read also B, C and D, but here the correct answer is A, because it is very clear that the functions here actually examiner is trying to assess that whether you people know about the functions of the different types of neurons or not. So relay neuron, motor neuron, sensory neuron, I think it is very clear to you people. Okay, now the question 20, that is which part of the central nervous system controls the body's water balance? And we have also attempted this question before. Cerebellum, hypothalamus, medulla. So which one is involved to control the body's water balance? That is hypothalamus, dear students. Hypothalamus is the structure of the brain which is involved to control the body temperature, sugar level, water level, rate of eating and drinking. So all these are different functions of the hypothalamus. So it is option C is correct in this case. Now the diagram shows a section through the brain and part of the spinal cord. Okay, first labeled all these parts of the brain. What is P? P is the cerebrum. What is Q? Yes, Q is cerebellum. What is R? R is a medulla oblongata. What is S? S is what? It is hypothalamus. So pituitary gland. In this case, the pituitary gland. Hypothalamus is you can differentiate this structure from pituitary because in case of hypothalamus there would not be a lobe like this. The lobe which is present in case of S, this lobe is actually linked towards the pituitary gland. So it is very much important to understand. So here you should know the difference between hypothalamus and pituitary, because pituitary gland is just below the hypothalamus, right? So if there is a single lobe, if you observe in the diagram, so you can categorize it into the pituitary gland, right? So which row correctly identifies the cerebral hemisphere, cerebellum, medulla and pituitary gland? So you can easily differentiate all this cerebral hemisphere. Definitely it's P. Then cerebellum, it's Q. Okay, then medulla, so it's R, and then pituitary gland, so it's Z. So option A is correct, right? Option A is correct because it is labeling all the different parts of the brain which are present in the structure, which is not controlled directly by the nervous system. Blood glucose concentration, dilation of the blood vessels, heartbeat, pupil diameter in the eye. So which is not directly controlled by the nervous system. Yes, which one? Blood glucose concentration. So yes, it is controlled by nervous system, as we know it is the function of hypothalamus. Dilation of the blood vessels, dilation of the blood vessels, yes, heartbeat and all these things are controlled by medulla oblongata, so it is also under the control of nervous system. So heart rate, yes, heart rate is controlled by medulla oblongata, so it is the function. Pupil diameter in the eye, pupil diameter in the eye, is it the function of the central nervous system? Yes, dear students, what do you think about it? Okay, so the pupil diameter in the eye is not in the direct control of the nervous system, because its diameter is controlled, you can say, by light. When light is strike to the eye, so its diameter may dilate or it may contract. So this is not in the direct control of the nervous system. So nervous system is not directly control this this part of the body. Okay, now question 23. The diagram shows the reflex arc in which a bee sting causes the arm to be moved quickly. Sting by a bee to the finger. Okay, there is a P, there is a Q, there is R. So what is the question? Question is, if relay neuron at Q is damaged, how will the transmission of the nerve impulse in the reflex arc be affected? How it will be affected? So you can you can see this diagram keenly. There is a P is actually a sensory neuron. Okay, it will take this message of stinging from the finger to the relay neuron at point Q, but Q is damaged. If Q is damaged, so it means that information which is coming from the sensory neuron will not be processed here, because Q is damaged. So so what would be the scenario here? He is asking you a question. They can option A, they cannot pass from P to Q. Yes, that cannot be passed from P to Q. They cannot pass from P to R. Cannot pass from P to R. So definitely the nerve impulse, the nerve transmission is that cannot pass from P to R. P to Q, yes, that will pass from P to Q, but that cannot pass from P to Q, P to R. They cannot pass from Q to P. That's not the pathway. Similarly, R to Q is not the pathway. So here option B is correct. They cannot pass from P to R. They cannot pass from P to R, because if Q is damaged, that message will come from P to Q, but Q will not process it, so definitely that impulse will not transfer from P to R. Right? It is the correct pathway. So here option B is correct. Alright. So here again the diagram shows the section through the human brain, W, Y, X. First label them. Cerebrum is W and medulla oblongata is Y. Then you have X, and X is the cerebellum. cerebellum. So what are the functions of the labeled regions? Alright, memory and balance. These are two functions. You have to find out which one, the structure which is present in the brains. So memory, yes. W, memory is controlled by W. We have discussed this many times. It's the function of cerebrum to control the memory. Then you have balance, and balance is the function of X. So its main option is correct. Memory and balance, it is controlled by cerebrum and cerebellum respectively. Alright, so option A is correct, dear students. Now you have another question. The diagram shows some nerve pathways involved in temperature control of the human body. Alright, the diagram shows some nerve pathways involved in temperature control of the human body. Temperature receptor, sweat gland, blood vessel, its dilation and its contraction. So muscle layer, alright, skin, surface of the skin. So which part of the nervous system does X represent? As we know, it is the control of temperature is under the hypothalamus. So the X is labeled as hypothalamus. So option B is correct here. Alright. So now another MCQ, that is the diagram is a section through the human head showing the brain and associated structures. Alright. So where are the cerebellum and the pituitary gland? So I think it's very easy now, because we have attempted a lot of questions related to this this sort of scenario. So Y is what? It is what? It is cerebrum. So X is what? X is this lobe, you can observe it's a pituitary gland. So W is what? It is the medulla oblongata. Z is what? It is cerebellum. So he has asked you the question, what are the cerebellum and the pituitary here? Okay, cerebellum. Where is cerebellum? Y, and Y, is it Y? He's asking about cerebellum. No, that's Z. That is Z. Z. Okay. And where is pituitary? That is X. You can observe here. So your option B is correct, because Z is the cerebellum and X is the pituitary gland. So your option D is correct here, ZX. Right? Which part of the nervous system is the center for processing such as thought, memory and judgment? Okay, which one? Cerebellum, cerebrum, medulla, spinal cord. So as we know, cerebrum, which is the hemisphere, so it is involved in the function of thought, memory and judgment, reasoning and all these functions. Are it is option B is correct, because cerebellum, we know it is involved in balancing and coordination. Medulla oblongata, it has other functions like heartbeat, to control heartbeat, breathing, swelling and coughing sort of things. So spinal cord, that's a part of central nervous system. So it is involved in processing and other things. So here option B is correct. Alright. So the diagram represents the central nervous system X, Y and Z. Show possible sites where the system can be blocked by the local anesthetic. Alright, you have Z, X is the sensory nerve and Y is the motor nerve. Of 4 men, 1 had no anesthetic block and the other 3 had only 1 anesthetic block at X, Y and Z. It is the scenario. So here, question, one of the men can feel a pinprick on his leg but cannot move it. where is the anesthetic block? At motor nerve. Definitely, if the effector is not properly functioning, it means motor nerve is blocked, right? Message is because he has given you a scenario here that the person is feeling pinprick. If he is feeling that pinprick, it means sensory neurons are functioning properly, right? But after feeling that pain, the person is not able to move his or her leg, right? So it means that if a man is not able to move its leg, it means effector neuron is blocked. So where is the effector? Where is the motor neuron? Motor neuron, its function is to activate the function or initiate the function of the effector. So motor nerve, it means Y. It is blocked at Y. So right, option B is correct. In a reflex action, after the hand touches a hot object, what is the role of the brain? Yes, what is the role of the brain, dear students? It's a tricky question. Definitely, brain is not involved in the reflex action. So option D is correct. Receives information? No, in reflex action, brain is not receiving the information. So initiates the withdrawal response? No, brain is not involved in initiating. It's a function of spinal cord. So option D is correct, dear students. I hope you are getting. What does the hypothalamus control? So it controls temperature, body temperature. Option B is correct. It's easy. In temperature control of the body, which types of neurons carry information from skin receptors to the brain and from brain to the sweat glands? Okay, in temperature control of the body, which types of neurons carry information from the skin receptors to the brain and from brain to the sweat glands? Okay, dear student, from skin receptors to the brain, which neuron will do this function? So definitely sensory neuron. From brain to sweat glands, which will do it? So motor neuron. So sensory and motor, it means option C is correct, right? What are the labels for the parts of the brain? Right, 2 is what? It is cerebrum. 3 is what? It is cerebellum. And this 1 is what? It is pituitary gland. So just categorize it according to the MCQs or the options. 1 is what? 1 is pituitary gland. 2 is what? 2 is cerebrum. So 3 is what? It is cerebellum. It's mean option 3 is correct. Option C is correct. Sorry. Option C is correct in this case. What is controlled by the medulla in the brain? Balance, breathing, memory, vision. So breathing. Medulla oblongata, its function is to control the reflex actions, heartbeat, breathing, swelling and coughing. All these are the functions of the medulla oblongata. So balance is not the function of the medulla oblongata because it is the function of what? It is the function of cerebellum. Cerebellum, which is involved in coordination and balance. Memory and vision, both are the functions of the cerebrum. So option B is correct. The diagram shows parts of the person's nervous system that has been cut at X. Right? It is cut at X. It's a sensory neuron as it is shown in the diagram. Sting by a bee. So if it is cut from X, a bee stings a finger as shown. What are the effects of this sting on the person? Pain felt, armed move. Yes or no? You have to give this answer. So pain felt. Now come towards this diagram. If it is cut from the X point, it means sensory neuron is cut before reaching to the relay neuron or the intermediate neuron. So it means that person will not feel the pain because X is disconnected before reaching to the relay neuron for processing, right? So no pain felt, right? Armed move. So if a person will not be able to feel that pain, so how he can move his arm? So it means no arm movement. So option A is correct, dear students. Option A is correct. All right. The diagram shows a section through the brain. The diagram shows a section through the brain. Again, you can categorize it. Z. What is Z? Z is hypothalamus. Y is medulla oblongata. W is cerebrum. X is cerebellum. So which region control balance, heart rate and temperature? Okay, dear students, balance. Balance is the function of what? Balance is the function of X. Where is X? Okay, X. So heart rate. What is the heart rate is controlled by which part of the brain? Medulla oblongata. Is it? Heartbeat is controlled by medulla oblongata and it is Y. So X, Y, and then you have definitely temperature, which is the function of hypothalamus, and that is Z. That is Z. So X, Y, Z. Your option B is correct, dear students. Option B is correct in this case. Alright. So last two MCQs, I think this one is, the diagram shows a section through the head showing the brain and part of the spinal cord. Again, which structures carry out the functions below? Conscious thought and memory. Definitely it's the function of Y. Now we can easily give the answer of these questions. Control of balance and posture, that is a function of Z. So YZ. Is there any YZ? Yes. Option C is correct. Option C is correct. The last question. The diagram shows the section of the brain which part produces hormones. Yes, it's very easy. A, B, C, D. So which one? A is what? It's cerebrum, so it's not involved in producing hormones. B, it is not involved in producing hormones. Its function is to balance. C, medulla oblongata, it's not function to produce hormones. So here option D is correct. Which part produces hormones? Option D is correct because it is pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is the part of the brain which produces different sort of hormones. So that's all, dear students. So I hope you people got the idea and understand the different parts of the brain and all the functions which are associated with the with all these parts. So here I am going to conclude this video. So in the next video, hopefully inshallah, we will discuss or we will talk about the topical questions or paper related to the chemical coordination. So up till then you should take care and try to revise this paper 1 so that you can perform in your papers. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. God bless you.